Well, I'm on the Worship Associates Committee, and 2 weeks ago I was at work, stressed by work, and so I thought, well, I'll just read the church emails. That'll calm me down. And then I opened an email that said I was the Worship Associate Leader for today, and that Stephen wasn't preaching, so that meant that I had to preach. So I thought, H-E double hockey sticks, right? That's an Olympic reference. But and then I thought, wait, that's not the best frame of mind to begin a sermon with. So anyway, here goes nothing. So I'm not a stranger to it. So I don't know if, I'm a psychologist by training, but my dad was a minister, and he was a preacher, and when he got going, he could preach. So I don't know if you're going to see that today. But I called my younger brother up, Greg, and he's like, I said, I don't know what I'm going to do. And he goes, Eric, just let the inner preacher in you come out. Okay. All right. Well, so I thought, what could I say that would help this beloved community that I'm part of? That's you guys, right? And I'm so grateful to this community. I raised my daughters here. People have given me guidance when I was low. When I first came here, I grew up in a Christian church, and I just couldn't take it after about 5 sessions. My wife's a lifelong Unitarian Universalist, and I couldn't stand no ritual. I couldn't stand no liturgy, no prayer. We didn't pray much back then. We pray more now. But and then this woman I was at a coffee hour, I said this to, and you guys might remember her, Marianne Stroud. Marianne Stroud? Okay. Oh, what a soul. And I was telling her to it, and all she just looked at me, and she goes, and with this loving kindness in her voice and in her eyes, she said, Eric, you came and you've given this a really good try. And that's all she said. And I was speechless, and I just thought, I want, because I was looking for a fight, right? And it kept me here. I just figured, this person has soul inside them. Where does that come from, right? So I'm here. All right, bear with me for a minute. I think I mixed up my pages. Let's see here. Oh, no, I got it. Yeah, okay. Well, these are turbulent times. There's a lot going on that's hard to stomach, hard to swallow. And, I hope what I might convince you to do as I go through this is to quiet yourself and listen. Perhaps that's the way we come up with a response to what's going on. Now, how many of you have found yourself worrying, perhaps stressed, or maybe even losing sleep over this kind of sea change in our politics? How many? Okay, look around. You're not alone, right? And how many of you have found yourselves becoming more active in our communities, in our church? Thank you. Thank you. So we have it in us. And the quote at the top of the bulletin by J.K. Rowling, the Harry Potter reference, it's important to remember that we all have magic inside us. Well, I think it's important to find some calm wisdom that we can feel in our bones that may enable us to hold and honor what's going on outside. Even in the middle of a hurricane, the bottom of the sea is calm. As the storm rages and the winds howl, the deep waters sway in gentle rhythm a light movement of fish and plant life. Below there is no storm. What if we were to find those deep waters in ourselves? Well, in the Greek mythology, the three Furies are unleashed on the earth when sacred oaths are broken. The disenfranchised there's some havoc wreaked on them, some damage. And the only way that they are reeled in, and the only way that they are calmed, is the great goddess Athena welcomes them into the great temple and gives them a seat of honor, gives them dignity, listens to them. And in that way, they are calmed. So maybe there is a message there for us, right? So there are magnificent examples in our human history of those who have made a practice of being quiet and listening to the calm down inside themselves in the deep waters below the storm. Who comes to mind? Well, of course, Gandhi. As he was toppling British empires and fighting for the rights of the disenfranchised, he always took one day, a week off, to quiet and center himself in the midst of the violence and the chaos. And his Hindu followers would sometimes come and say, "Hey, Mahatma, we need you over here. There's some scary stuff happening." And he would reply, "I'm off today, my loved ones. I need to sit and quiet myself so I can listen." That's not a direct quote, but that's what I imagine he said. Okay. In another example, there was a contemporary of Gandhi's by the name of Khan Abdul Ghaffar Khan. Khan Abdul Ghaffar Khan. He was a general from Pakistan and a Muslim warrior. He took to Gandhi's ways of humility and honesty and modesty and courage. And he had a practice of meditation and quiet. And out of this, he assembled the Kudai Khidmatgar. The Kudai Khidmatgar. Translated means servers of Allah. And in this day and age of fake news, such a name would ring like Al-Qaeda. But in fact, it was the biggest peace army ever assembled at the time. It was said to number over 100,000 Muslim warriors. And Khan Abdul Ghaffar Khan convinced his followers that the concepts of nonviolence were anchored in the Quran, and they are. And that these concepts should be used as a weapon in the jihad, our holy war against the British Empire. He defiantly once told his peace army prior to an engagement with the British, "It is the weapon of the prophet, but you are not aware of it. The weapon is called patience and righteousness. No power on this planet can stand against it." So he called upon their dignity, and he ignobled his followers. And they protested, and they died. Where does that courage come from in turbulent times? Well, another example, of course, Martin Luther King. He's our American example. And he also had a practice of finding quiet and listening. His was a practice of contemplative prayer that comes out of the Christian tradition. It's like meditation. And writing. Oh, what a writer. When the infamous church bombings in Birmingham happened in 1963, killing 4 beautiful black girls, he preached, "We will match your capacity to inflict suffering with our capacity to endure suffering. We will meet physical force with soul force. We cannot hate you, but in all good conscience, we cannot obey your unjust laws. We will wear you down with our capacity to suffer and love you anyway." Does that not ring with you, those words? Somewhere inside you, deep inside you. And what is that inside you? What is it? Is it ancient wisdom? Is it just love? Is it goodness? Is it the interconnected web of life? Is it the deep, calm waters within us? H.L. Mencken is a political journalist and satirist in the 1940s and 50s. Prescient beyond his times, writes, "The whole aim of practical politics is to keep the populace alarmed and hence clamorous to be led to safety by menacing it with an endless series of hobgoblins, all of them imaginary." That was written, I think, in 42. Seems applicable today. We can see how we, the people, get charged by some of the nationalist rhetoric we are hearing these days. Give teachers guns. Immigrants are part of the MS-13 gang. The news is fake. Now, please indulge me for a minute. The psychologist in me has to come out. You hear these things. You read these things. You get them on your Twitter feeds or however you're getting them. And what happens? Our limbic systems hijack our brains and engage our flight, fight, freeze responses. Fear rises. Neurological storms start to rage within. Impulses and emotions are acted on while the nourishment and blood that our reflective frontal lobes need is shunted away in order to protect and preserve what? The dignity and meaning we, the people, can't find. So now, more than ever, we need to stop and tune into our hearts, our souls, if you will, our deep waters. You see, I believe there is basic goodness deep down in those still waters in all of us. That is a core belief of mine. And perhaps to get to it, we need to welcome and face the furies within and among us. It has been said that only to the extent one exposes himself over and over again to annihilation can that which is indestructible be found in them. And in this daring lies true dignity and the spirit of awakening. Some of the work that we have done and are doing around Black Lives Matter comes to mind. Facing the white supremacists within, ring a bell? Because it's only when we hear and honor the suffering of all that we can truly find reconciliation. I think this happened a bit in South Africa through the courageous leadership of Nelson Mandela, who also was a man capable of finding quiet and listening. But I don't think America's there yet. I'm not sure we have brought the Furies in, given them a place in the temple, a seat of honor, and listened to them. Well, we need to quiet ourselves so that we can examine and see what these emotions are telling us about what we truly need, not what they inflame us to want. What if, like Gandhi or Martin Luther King, we turn towards these turbulent times from a place of quiet listening? And what if we see from this perspective that the election or the dividedness in our nation is a symptom? In my profession, in family therapy, it's like when we look at the acting out child as a symptom, a messenger of what's going wrong within the family, what is causing the suffering. And if we see the suffering, how might we, our human family, respond? So I wonder, could you and I trust that through quiet listening, or whatever your reflective practices, and I know that many of you have these, hiking in nature, knitting, music, prayer, meditation. I know you have these reflective practices. If we turn to those, could we trust that we will find in ourselves what the world needs? Again, J.K. Rowling says it's good to remember that there is a little magic in all of us. And if you don't believe this, then here's some examples of deep truth and wisdom that I would wager touch you deeply. 1, hatred never ends hatred, but only by love is healed. Hatred never ends hatred, but only by love is healed. Deep truth. 2, individuals and societies based on greed, hatred, and ignorance create suffering. Period. 3, there is vastly much more that connects us than that which divides us. So what do we do? How does one connect to ourselves and find deep, calm waters within us? Well, I don't think you need to be a Zen master to accomplish this, but you do have to have a practice of quiet listening. The Buddha said over and over again in so many ways, the quieter you are, the more you can hear. So here's some suggestions. Limit your dose of news. You know the plot. It doesn't change. Don't not read. Don't be, you want to be informed, but limit your dose. Put quiet time in your schedule, and that might take a different form for a lot of us. Walks in nature. Might be a meditation. For some people it's exercise, that repetitive movement that clears out our minds and brings clarity to us. I know that many of you have these reflective practices, and we need those now if we're going to turn towards this turbulent time. Establish a device-free time, a technological Sabbath, so to speak. I'm not against technology, right? But it's hard to watch, hear, see all that comes at us and have a quiet mind to find deep, still waters in yourself. Find a way to create. For some people, this is a way that they touch their deep magic. That can be through music, knitting. Journal your thoughts and reactions. Because these activities lift you into a higher awareness. Finally, connect with community. And we've got a great community here. For it's said that connecting with others can be a path by which you can stretch your heart enough to lose its littleness. The Grinch comes to mind, where his heart grew, 7 times after he realized that he actually liked the people and was connected with them. So take a look inside, and don't be afraid, O gentle people, as there's more right with you than is wrong. Welcome the furies of hate and vengeance. Comfort them. Give them a seat of honor so that you may find a way to face suffering and find dignity. In the Zen Buddhist tradition, it is said you must sit and sweep the garden. That is, be quiet and listen. Then find a way to tend our world. We are the church of the open, reflective minds, the caring, warm hearts, the gentle, helping hands. That is the soul of who we are. I know it. You all have this in you. You all have gifts that bring you alive, and if expressed, may reverberate across our interdependent web of life. The world needs you. Your gift may be writing letters to the editor. It may be tutoring. It may be singing. It may be giving good hugs. It may be random acts of kindness, or maybe it's lobbying our representatives for change. Whatever your gift is, be quiet, listen, find it. And when you connect with your own way of responding to these turbulent times, when you identify the value you care for, you find your inner wisdom down in those deep waters, when you hear something inside you that rings true, stand up for it. Don't stand up to be a hero, but stand up because you care about it and it has great value to you. May we find a way to sit and listen, plant our seeds, and sweep our gardens. I'm going to leave you with a story. And I think the point of this story, I'll preload it for you, is to make sure you find your own way to respond to these turbulent times. So, you may have heard of this person. I couldn't find her name. I just know she existed. She was a teacher in San Francisco, and she lived near the Tenderloin, and she was a great sandwich maker. She was really good at sandwich making. And she started making sandwiches and feeding some of the down and out folks that she saw that on her way to work as she walked there. And she loved it, and she kept doing it. Well, papers got a hold of it, and people took notice of it. And today, there's several programs in the San Francisco schools, in the cafeterias where they bring the grade schoolers in and they make sandwiches to give to the Tenderloin, right? And she was the origin of that. But anyway, here's the story. The story is as she got more acclaim, people started sending her checks to do this good work that she was involved in, right? And to their surprise, each of the checks was returned in full with a message that said, "Make your own damn sandwiches." All right, where are we at here? Paul, sharing stewardship.
I think it's the gift of music.
Oh, I'm singing now. Yeah, right. Okay.